One of the things I'm always thinking about is, does any kind of art making, for me anyway, does it does it really matter? Does it really, why do I keep doing something that is really probably never going to be seen by that many people, never really going to be purchased? Those things themselves don't really bother me because for me, I just sort of assume that, like I mentioned before, I'm not terribly ambitious in the way of setting the art world on fire. I think I'm just me, and I'm going to produce what comes out of me. But there's always this, when you have jobs to do, when you have a job to go to, like earlier in life, for me, when you have a project in the house or you've got commitments with friends, perhaps, those are things that, I don't know, I never have problems doing. I mean, it's something to do. It's something to actually go out and do that isn't self-centered, like maybe producing art is. And so I have a hard time when I finished all those projects and made all those phone calls I need to make and, seen friends and so forth. I still have a hard time getting started with painting or, um, maybe doing a little writing, maybe um, embarking on a filmmaking project. It always takes me time to get going. And once I'm engaged, it's okay, especially during a particular session. If I'm editing, I mean, I can edit for hours and I don't even notice, film editing, I'm talking about video editing, or if I'm into a painting and I think it has some hope, and even if I don't, I'm okay once I'm there. And as a matter of fact, it seems to, time seems to kind of not matter or disappear or whatever. And I know they all talk about that being flow and a state of involvement, but, and I don't know if it's pleasurable. It's just that you get lost in what you're doing. And I kind of wish it were more pleasurable, because then it would be an inducement not to have to overcome so much in order to reignite it the next time you approach the easel, or even doing one of these. It's a question is, what is the point of this? Constantly. And I there is a point. There is a point to doing it. For me, at least, I've come to the conclusion finally, even though it's still hard at times, that what else would I be doing that would be why what should I go on living if I'm not doing something that involves thinking through things or trying to get something to happen in a physical form on a canvas, trying to make a film that expresses yourself or expresses the subject. Those are important. There's no question about it. And it's funny because, what makes it hard, I think what makes it hard for me is they're difficult things to do. They're not simple. I mean, I think it's fairly simple to sit down and paint a pretty picture. That if that's all you want to do is to be able to go out or even look at photographs or whatever it might be, but you're looking for pretty pictures. You're not really thinking about, like, really what am I trying to, where am I in all this? Am I just a recorder? Am I just copying? And I totally think there's a place for that. As a matter of fact, I like that. I like it because it's a break from doing artwork in a way. It's a break from having to think and really, you're perceiving more. You're more sensorily involved when you're copying or doing studies. And when you're actually maybe trying to go a little deeper, well, then you have a lot of questions. I mean, a wonderful teacher and film subject of mine, and painter, Gillian Pedersen Craig, she talked about, she would always ask, like, what is it, what do you have to ask yourself as a painter? You have to ask, what is it you want to paint and how are you going to paint it? She's really right about that. That's such, of course, that's the whole universe right there. She's asking you to ask yourself when it comes to being an artist and when it comes to painting in particular. Yeah. I mean, for me, the thing that keeps drawing me are people, faces, people I know, people I care about, and just trying to produce something that doesn't necessarily look exactly like the photograph, which mine never do anyway, but which captures something about, which are recognizable and which maybe capture something about the person that is really, that I respond to, that I love about them or whatever. And it's not always the expression that's on the photograph. I'm usually working from photographs. A lot of times it isn't. A lot of times I wish I could get that particular beautiful look, soulful look. But other times I stumble across something else, just a little turn with the brush on the lip, you know, it's hard to identify, or the eyes just a little, I don't know, you know, it's just not, there are a lot of things that make up an expression. And then those things, if they're really portrayed well or directly, maybe you're looking more into their soul, not just their expression, you know, and that's what I'm kind of looking for. So sometimes I'll grab something that, or I'll hit on something by accident, whatever, that, oh, I like that. I see the person in that. And that's really when I don't want to go a lot further. I just don't want to, if I like it and I respond to it, if I go back into it, I might lose that feeling coming from the photograph toward me, and I may never get it back. I have it right there right now. Keep it. It's something that you recognized, you know, you produced, and you kind of recognized it more than you actually created. You know, I feel like I'm a stumbler. I stumble through my paintings a lot of the time. I used to go through, I used to think I'm so ham-fisted. I can't, you know, I just can't, they're not easy to look at. They're not trying to get in anyone's face, or to be ugly for the purpose of being ugly. But for the longest time, I thought, God, I just cannot seem to do anything that doesn't look really difficult or not uncomfortable. That's not the right word. Just kind of, I keep always going back to kind of ham-fisted, like not subtle, not, you know, but I don't know. So then, you know, you have to wonder, like, well, wait a minute, maybe, and I've noticed this after I've gotten away from paintings for a while. I have stacks of paintings, and every now and then I go through them just to look at them. You know, they're usually things that I reject, or I'm almost always rejecting everything I do. So they all go into a pile. And then every now and then I go back and I just see them with completely different eyes. They're not masterpieces. Some of them, though, are a lot better than I thought. And some, they're fine with my new criteria of, when you get something, when you like something, be aware that you can stop. You can stop and appreciate it for what it is. And maybe someone else will appreciate the same thing. Maybe you'll go on to work on a background part of it or something, but maybe you leave the rest of it alone. But maybe not even mess with the background, because that could be adding to the effect, the overall effect of the portrait. That's a part of the portrait too. So you have to be really careful. I notice when I start getting tentative, when I'm like, what do I do next? That's okay for some of the time. But I think when you're feeling good about something, for me, I'm trying to make myself stop at a certain point, because I want to be able to come back to it and have a little propulsion, if I decide to continue with it, or if I decide to, you know, pick up a new canvas. So I don't know. It is interesting. I also notice with me, God, it's like happens constantly. I will be painting. I will be thinking I'm doing something here. This is getting good. This is exciting. I'm moving along. I've got the drawing quick. I'm into, there's believable form happening here. And, you know, God, you know, then I'll go to the bathroom or leave the room for a few minutes, and I'll come back. And I'm always sweating when I come back, because a lot of the time I come back and I think, what in the hell did you do? You know, what is wrong here? This is ridiculous. And I usually get that sensation from across the room, which I believe, and I've heard other people talk about this, my friend and wonderful painting mentor, Bill White, who lives right here in Caledonia with me, a magnificent painter. I get the feeling sometimes that my design, it's the design, because, you know, from across the room, a good design stands out, even on an 8x10 painting. My paintings are usually fairly small. But, and that may be it. That may be missing from across the room. So I get this initial like, oh shit, you know, it's awful. Why, you know, I'm let down again, you know. Then I go up to the painting and, you know, there is something there though, because maybe I've done something with color and just variations in color and tone that look nice, or maybe there's a certain, I can kind of get back to liking it if I get back to where I was sitting in front of it. So I don't know if other people have the same issues. And another thing, well, I'll talk about this in my next time I get online, I think. It's about working with brushes, for instance, working with brushes and having to, you know, work with a number of brushes or work with a few brushes. I have to clean them all the time. I want to talk about that because that's been something I just have not been able to crack. I have a conflict with working with brushes, but my little stubby fingers are not very good paint applicators either. And I'm not very good with a palette knife. So that kind of, you know, what am I going to do? Like put it on with a tube and move it around with it. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that some other time. Maybe the next one I'll talk about it. Anyway, I hope you're all having a good day. And if you hear some music playing in the background, it's my wife practicing piano right now. So maybe that's coming in on this little soundtrack. Also, the furnace just kicked on. So I'm going to kick off. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.